Do you like wrestling? Do you ever watch wrestling?
No. Nope.
And The Rock said, whoa, 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 whoa. Because I'm still standing here, custom made, brother. Woo! And I mean custom made. From the alligators to the Ole Cassini right here. Ric Flair. There's only one.
We're not the kind of guys that say, we told you so, but we told you so.
Yeah, no thank you from the Young Bucks.
Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman.
You know who I am.
What's up, gang? Welcome to Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman, the podcast that breaks down the biggest stories in and out of the ring. My name is Mike Wellman. Thank you for hitting that play button. We appreciate you here as always. This is episode 55 of Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. I am joined, as always, by the notorious KRS. What's up, Chris?
What's going on? Welcome back.
Yes, we are back. We are here to talk about AEW Revolution. We are here to talk about that face-off on SmackDown between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. But yes, it's good to be back after an extended, unplanned hiatus. But all's well in the world. We are back here. The wall behind me is dripping after being painted by yours truly. Made some upgrades to the podcast studio that I'm excited about. Mainly, like I said, painted the wall behind me.
Hey, that's good. Upgrade's upgrade.
So, like I said, on this episode, we will be talking about AEW Revolution. MJF and Bryan Danielson put on an amazing match. Went about 67 minutes, sudden death, overtime. MJF wins after murdering Bryan Danielson with an oxygen tank. A lot of great stuff at Revolution. An amazing pay-per-view overall. Really, every single match delivered, I would say. There wasn't really anything bad on the show, and we'll get to all of that. But before we go any farther, we need you to be kind, subscribe, watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. If you're watching the video version on YouTube, hello, thank you, hit like, hit the notification bell so you get updates when new episodes get posted. And if you're listening to the audio version of the podcast, hello, thank you, hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review. You can find the podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you already know, Google, Amazon. Check out the Patreon. We have some new Patreon tiers and some new content coming out on Patreon. So consider supporting the podcast that breaks down the biggest stories in and out of the ring on our Patreon. And we won't have any problems. All right, so let's get right into it here. AEW Revolution was this Sunday night. And like I said, it was really an amazing card overall. Let's start with the main event. Iron Man match, AEW World Championship. MJF retains, which is a decision I was firmly against, as we all know. My opinion is that anytime Daniel Bryan, is in a championship match, he needs to win. And that did not happen on Sunday night at the Chase Center.
I think it's the Chase Arena. Not sure.
Yeah, but this was a great match. So, like I said, it went in sudden death overtime. So much happened in this match. The first 15 minutes of this match, there wasn't really a clock on the screen. The clock just came on the screen periodically throughout the match. And I swear, I wasn't looking at my phone. I didn't have a clock in the room that told me the time. So they showed the clock at about 44 minutes. So like I said, right about 15 minutes into the match. And before that clock came on the screen, I was saying to myself, it must be close to the halfway point. We must be 30 minutes into this match. Then it pops up. There's 44 minutes left in the match. So, I mean, the pace these guys were going at in the first 15 minutes, it was a fast-paced, technical wrestling match. They did kind of have a lull where they had to kind of catch their breath for a few minutes at one point, or at several points. But no, they went at an insane pace right at the beginning, and they kept up a decent pace throughout the whole 60 minutes and then into the overtime. Just at one point in the middle of the match, there was this crazy series of roll-throughs, roll-through near-fall attempts that had Bryce Remsburg, the referee, just smacking the mat for minutes on end. Just 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I gotta stop doing that. It's making the camera shake. 1, 2. His arm and hand were visibly red from having to count so many near falls in such quick succession. It was literally like, just like, you hear 1, 2. If there was no counting, it would have just been over and over again. So then they got to a point where they were tied up 2-2 because of a fall by Danielson, then a low blow DQ for MJF that gave another fall to Danielson, and then 2 back-to-back pinfalls by MJF. So it was 2-2. MJF hit a gigantic elbow drop off of the top turnbuckle onto Danielson on a table outside at one point. And there was, of course, in this match, the incident where they were out in the crowd and MJF just threw a cup of water on a small child. So, what'd you think of that, Chris? MJF throwing water on a kid.
On the one hand, I love a man who never breaks character. Ever. That would go with his character, right? But I mean, I don't know. I know you don't like it, so I don't want to say that I liked it. I don't want to be one of those marks that you said who thinks it was genius. I don't know if it's genius, but I do love a wrestler who never breaks character at all.
It wasn't genius to throw a water on a kid.
Not genius.
In the crowd. I don't find that to be genius. I mean, yeah, yelling at the kids, ripping the signs even when the signs are, say you suck or something. But, I mean, I honestly, right after it happened, I said that must have been a staged thing. It just, the way the camera was, it happened so smoothly that MJF just walked over to this woman who appeared on camera and then just took her drink, which happened to be a water, right? Thank God it wasn't a beer. Then takes the water, just dumps it on the kid.
I mean, she looked appalled, though, so that's either a great actor or that was legit.
Well, I mean, it could have been a lot worse. I mean, think about it. If that was your kid, you don't know what's going to happen if somebody throws a drink on your kid.
That's true.
For goodness sakes. I mean, I know I would be immediately enraged, but then it's like, then what happens? So then someone throws a water at your kid, then what do? You get yourself kicked out, you're arrested? That being a real situation, that was really unprofessional. And not just like, oh, haha, he's such a genius. It was so great. He threw water on a kid. Like,
so I don't want to sound like I'm like that. I don't think it was like this brilliant genius move. I mean, he probably could have just took the water and dumped it out. That's heelish enough,
Well, no, it was just, I mean, this kid, I mean, you can't contextualize this stuff for a child the way people apparently think you can. I mean, yeah, it's just water. He's going to get over it. It's not a big deal. But these people pay to come to the show. It's not like they were trying to be a part of the show and then get doused in water. You don't know what that kid's life was like just to be able to say, oh, get over it, kid. I mean, maybe he gets bullied. You don't know. And that's the thing. To me, it was really a metaphor for the way society treats just children in America in general. Just splash water on it and say, haha, F them kids.
That's true. I mean, you're right. We don't know that situation. What if that was me and he threw water on me? You okay with that?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Me too. Okay.
An adult.
Right.
I mean, and the same goes for an adult. They wouldn't be appreciated, and you don't know what's going on in that adult's life, and it could negatively impact them. But it's just a different scenario than a kid.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, and that was a small child too. That was a small. All right, fine. I don't think it was a genius move. I'm not that guy who's saying like he's the greatest ever. What a genius! Oh, he's the best.
He's such a good heel. I mean, he is obviously a good heel, but it's just like He's a scumbag. That's what he is.
I mean, really.
So, congratulations on MJF for being a scumbag and for winning the match. But yeah, so apparently afterwards with the fan incident, I guess Sean Ross Sapp had tweeted out that Will Washington from Fightful and Grab City had gone over and bought the kid an acclaimed foam finger, and then also that some AEW people were talking to him and he was able to meet some of the wrestlers, and perhaps he's going to go to some AEW events in the future. Still, you know. This after we went to a show and we saw somebody get completely beamed in the face with a.
I was gonna say we had a bad week with drink in the crowd. Okay.
Yeah, I think that I think we're approaching the line here of what's acceptable and what will have consequences. We're in the fuck around stage. I think we're gonna get to the find out stage when people eventually get sued for stuff like that, or somebody unfortunately gets hurt, which we don't want to happen, right?
I mean, yeah, I know it was quote unquote just water, but I mean, you're right. You never know. That's a pretty crazy experience. And they weren't like, they didn't go into the ring. They didn't run into the ring and then you get your ass whooped, right? That was just
Macho Man
crowd. Yeah.
They didn't get stomped out by Scott Hall and the Macho Man.
Yeah, no.
So it could have been worse. No, again.
No, I mean, that's kind of understandable. Like, you're crossing the line if you go into the ring like that. But they were just sitting in the crowd doing nothing. Like,
yeah.
It was.
Like the guy who kicked Speedball Mike Bailey. Why couldn't that guy get water thrown on him? Not this guy, right? Not this poor child, But anyways, yeah. So speaking of water, MJF took several water breaks during this match. This guy was guzzling water at different points. He went under the ring one time. People thought he was getting a weapon. He was just getting a drink of water. A drink of water in the middle of the match. And Taz, of course, is calling him out on it, saying that you shouldn't put so much water in your stomach. You're gonna stay blown up from having all that water in your body. MJF was chugging water.
Hey, he had to go 67 minutes. That's a long time.
I don't think I saw Bryan Danielson take a sip of water in the match, though.
Well, hey.
He's not as another thing Taz said, he is not a happy-go-lucky vegan, okay? He's got a mean streak of his own, Bryan Danielson. Apparently, vegans are happy-go-lucky.
I guess so. Yeah,
not eating meat just makes you pleasant, I guess, to be around. But that was funny. But yeah, so where are we here? So the fan thing happens. So at the end of the match, they get to a point where I think it was a headbutt. MJF's just gushing blood. And this was a bloody night. We'll get to this Texas death match, which of course was completely insane. But MJF is bleeding, covered in blood. And like the way the blood happened with him, he was like perfectly, drenched in blood with a crimson mask when all the drama was happening in the end of the match. And then it like started to dry up just in time for his eyes to like peek through, and he's got like these like emotions that you can make out in his eyes where when it's like soaking in the blood, you really can't make out anything. But yeah. So we got an H2O chant in the match because of MJF taking the water break. Just such a good match. This thing just built and built and built right to the end. So much crazy stuff in the match. MJF does the moonsault, lands on his knees, like selling his knee the whole match. Bryan gets him into it was like a 10-minute long single leg crab that was just going on forever and forever and forever. They're just really selling MJF's knee in this one. Basically, at the end of this match, they're all tied up, 3 falls apiece. And then Danielson has MJF in the LaBelle lock. Rest in peace, Gene LaBelle. For about a minute, the last minute of the match. Now, I'm watching this match, and this match gave me the same vibes as like the exploding barbed wire death match with Kenny Omega and Moxley, because except this would have been if the actual explosions happened. That's how good this was, right? It's like they're building to this final moment, and then it's like they get to that 0 second, and MJF just starts tapping. And then that was it, right? They called it a draw. MJF retains the title, but wait, there's more. So then Tony Schiavone is in the commentary booth. He's getting some word on the headset. Excuse me, from a 1TK in the go position. Basically, Tony Schiavone gets Giddy to go down to the ring and let people know what's going on. He tells the referee Bryce Remsburg and Justin Roberts what Tony Khan said, and then Justin Roberts lets us know that Tony Khan will not allow this match to end in a draw. So,
hell yeah.
The match restarts. MJF tries to use the championship belt. Bryce Remsburg kindly lets him know you use it, you lose it. You know, because if you got a DQ, then the sudden death fall goes to Bryan. So, you know, you could lose your championship on a disqualification here in an Iron Man match if it's in sudden death.
It's fair. I get that. I agree with that.
So then MJF doesn't use the championship belt. He's got the Dynamite Diamond ring, though. I don't know how he got it back. I thought Wardlow had it. Wait, didn't CM Punk give it to Wardlow? I don't know. But Bryan lands. Oh no, did he get a new ring when he beat Ricky Starks? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it was one of the other ones. I think
Too many rings.
Yeah.
So Bryan lands a reverse Rana and a Busaiku knee. MJF kicks out. So then Bryan's got him in the single leg crab again. MJF almost taps. This is where I didn't think he was going to tap, but this was as convincing as it was going to get with MJF doing the almost tapping and then not tapping. He gets to the ropes. He starts tapping when he's got his hand on the ropes. So Bryan thinks he's tapped out. MJF slides out of the ring. He grabs this oxygen tank. So after the initial 60 minutes ended, the docs came in. They start putting all kinds of medical equipment on everybody. They're giving MJF oxygen just like he needed after Wardlow demolished him last year when he needed to be carted out on a stretcher. They're giving MJF oxygen. So this oxygen tank is like just around the ringside. So Bryan comes over to the edge of the ring to grab MJF back into the ring. MJF waffles him with this oxygen tank right in the head. And that's it. He puts Bryan in the lapel lock. And an unconscious Bryan Danielson can't tap out. So MJF retains the title in sudden death in the Iron Man match.
Now that whole sequence with the fake him out, tap out on the ropes, and healing out using the oxygen tank, and then doing Daniel Bryan's label lock. Now that's great heel work.
Yeah, no, I mean everything was in the match. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was an insane match overall. Like I said, just the first 15 minutes alone was a technical wrestling match. They did the dueling kip ups at one point. I'm like, what is this? Ospreay versus Ricochet, the best of the Super Juniors here?
MJF, I feel like MJF's gonna what's the Budokan? MJF's gonna like do this once a year to be like, I actually can wrestle. I'm like Kurt Angle, and then not do it for the rest of the year. I wouldn't if I was him either.
Well, I mean, so MJF wins the match, but it's clear the best wrestler in the world is Bryan Danielson. Am I the only one that came out of that thinking that? I mean, obviously MJF had to cheat to win. He had to cheat several times. He even needed water. I don't remember Bryan taking a sip of water. Yeah, the best in the world doesn't need a sip of water or 3 bottles of water throughout the match. Just saying. But no, yes, incredible match. Just for these they went 7 minutes in sudden death, and it's like, just after everything you watch them do, I was watching 20 minutes in and I was like, okay, they're going to gas out soon, you know? And like I said, they took moments where they were catching their breath for minutes on end, it seemed like, but it never really stopped for the full hour and 7 minutes.
I mean, you got to take it. I think everyone now goes into a match like that and realizes, all the fans at least, there's going to be some like quote unquote breaks. And I think we're okay with it, honestly.
But yeah, so MJF retains the AEW World Championship. He comes into the press conference afterwards, cuts a promo. He's yelling at everybody again. He's wearing a crutch. He sits down. He got asked about the child and the incident, or Tony Khan got asked about it by, I believe it was Will Washington from Fightful. And MJF just said something about how he's like, yeah, really worried about the kid. Hope he's okay. And then Tony Khan, said like, we talked about it sternly, as every boss does.
Yeah.
To the people that they do not want to discipline whatsoever. we talked about it. We talked about it, Didn't say what's going to happen if it happens again. We'd say we talked about it.
Yeah.
Didn't say if MJF does that again, he's fired. If MJF does that again, he's going to be fined $100,000. He's just, we talked about it. Just a whip the dog session, I guess.
Yeah.
That was it. So, what else happened on this show? So, do you want to just get right to the death match?
Let's go. Let's go to Texas.
Oh my God. This was difficult for me to watch. I was squirming in these moments. This was like the Nick Gage and Chris Jericho match on Dynamite where but in that moment when Nick Gage, like, I don't remember, it might have been a light tube or it might have been the second go around with a pizza cutter. He hits Jericho's forehead and Jericho just reflexively pulls away. You know what I mean? In this one, Moxley did this thing to Hangman and Hangman just, I don't know how you can lay there when someone's full on mutilating your flesh for several seconds on end.
Yeah.
So it basically, beginning of the match, Moxley pulls out a fork, right? It's like old school. Young Moxley is back tonight, folks. Not this burly, bald, dad bod fellow. Young John Moxley came back with the fork. So Moxley pulls out a fork. And he gets Hangman in a nice triangle. So Hangman's got nowhere to go. And Moxley is just getting him with the fork over and over again. And it's like if you just stabbed an apple. You know how you got to like pull something out? It's like you had to pull the fork back out. It seemed like it was just, oh God, I could feel it myself. He's getting him with the fork. Then he's grazing the fork in like a swishy figure eight motion across Hangman's face. It was like he wasn't satisfied with the amount of blood that was coming out, even though it was definitely plenty. And then he just keeps going at it again. Now he's like killing him with the fork. There's literally blood spurts all over John Moxley from Hangman. Like splashes, like paint splashes. They look like Dexter. Covered in Hangman's blood. Right? It was just, and people online were saying some people were saying it was too much. Some people were saying it was great. I don't know how you could, like, if you played that moment in front of Congress, like, they might try to ban this stuff. You know?
Yeah,
like, that's one of those things where they play it at, like, the parent teacher, or, like, they play it at the school board meeting, and they're like, this is what the kids are watching. Like, that one moment was, you know, not good.
Yeah, no, that's...
And it kept going, right? So he's got Hangman completely bloody. Oh, I forgot to say, Hangman came out to the song Riders in the Sky by the Outlaws, a version of it by the Outlaws. That was a really good entrance for Hangman. And then Moxley came out through the crowd. A fork spot, just brutal. I don't know what kind of sponsor you can get, like the pizza cutter. They did the pizza cutter and then they cut to the pizza commercial. Like, what can you do where you stab people with a fork? I don't know.
I don't think we need to sell forks. People just need them. So there's not a lot of ads for them.
You could just do like a cut to a scene of like the Olive Garden where there's like a fork and it was like noodles wrapping around the fork.
Oh.
Just anything with a fork, or like a frozen dinner, right? And it's like the food is just like the fork goes right into a piece of like smoking chicken, like
Okay.
Like, here, eat this frozen dinner. Hangman's forehead.
Yeah, you don't want that film you gotta pull off frozen dinner, just like his flesh. No.
Yeah. So this Texas Death Match was out of control. That was the worst spot, was the fork spot. But there was also so much barbed wire and wrapping barbed wire around things and around people. I mean, like in the beginning, Hangman's putting the barbed wire just around his foot. But then he's wrapping it around his whole body to do the moonsault to the outside with the barbed wire all over him. There's just barbed wire everywhere. There was the barbed wire plywood piece that Moxley landed on. They were doing like back scratching where they're like scratching down each other's backs. And there's so much blood and like dirt on these guys, basically just blood, that Moxley's like trying his hardest to like cut Hangman with his every fingernail. Like he's literally digging into his back as hard as he could, making marks just down his back. I honestly, after this, I question John Moxley. I think he might be a deranged individual.
I didn't like that one. Was one I didn't like at all. That one I didn't like the fork spots either. But that one,
I don't know why. First of all, Moxley the other week he cut a promo where he's just spurting blood in the back. It was like 2 weeks ago, but it was on last week's Dynamite, where he's like, I'm the animal here, and he's like, blood is like pumping out of his head, and it's like you could see the fresh blood pooling like on his eyelid. And it's like, this man is out of his mind. He's never not bleeding, and he's never not cutting someone.
It's pretty crazy, actually. He might be a deranged individual. You're right.
Like, it's like the go-to thing. It's like, hey, he wakes up in the morning. What do you want to do today? Blood.
Yeah, remember when he was feuding with Omega early on in AEW, and they had that like glass table spot? Like, this guy loves it.
Yes, yeah. So like, you know how when we like people are talking about their matches, like you can't see me, Chris, but it's like, you know, when we were watching people go over their matches and they're like, yeah, we're gonna roll through this spot, then and they're always doing the one hand motion where they're just rolling their hands. They're like, yeah, we're gonna do a Rana, Hurricane Rana, and then we'll do a back, and they like go backwards with their hands, like they're reversing, like, okay, and then we'll go back, and then we'll run that one back, then we'll get it. And no matter what they're talking about, they're doing the same hand motion with their hands. It's like, okay, so we're gonna run, and John Moxley will do the same thing, but he's just like, okay, I'm gonna cut your forehead, and then I'm gonna cut your forehead, and then I'm gonna cut your face, and then I'm gonna cut your body, and then we're gonna run it back, and you're gonna cut my forehead, and then.
Oh man, I couldn't.
Yeah, so just so much brutality in that match, in the Texas Death Match. Bricks were in the match. There was brick stomps, curb stomp by Dean Ambrose. John Moxley. So Hangman is like bopping Moxley's head on this chair wrapped in barbed wire, like 3 different points. This was like this was like a pentagon like pile driver, but it was a dead eye pile onto the table, but it was just head first onto the chair with barbed wire on it. Moxley's head was just going into these chairs. It's just like, doesn't faze him.
I don't know how.
The power bomb onto the chairs wrapped in barbed wire. I've seen it before where they do actually power bomb people, or maybe not a power bomb, but do something onto the actual chair, like the pointed part of the chair.
Yeah.
Luckily, Hangman just power bombed him onto the chair part of the chair, the seat.
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever.
So, chairs wrapped in barbed wire, a man wrapped in barbed wire, a curb stomp, Moxley going back first into the plywood board. This was just an insane Texas death match. Like I said, a lot of people online were just saying how brutal it was. It was definitely something to see. It was definitely... It was kind of nerve-wracking to see where these guys were going to go next in this one.
Oh, yeah.
And that John Moxley, I don't know what is going on in his brain, but jeez, this man have no limits.
He's on a different level.
Apparently. But the end came when there was the chain involved. This chain reminded me of Hercules.
Oh, God. Jeez.
But yeah, so there was a chain. There was the chain punches. And then finally, Hangman is able to hang John Moxley over the ropes, hang him by his neck on the chain. Moxley taps for the first time in his AEW career. John Moxley tapped out, losing the Texas death to Adam Hangman Page. Yeah, overall, this was a great match. Very brutal at times. And yeah, great win for Hangman. Glad that I think John Moxley can now go on vacation.
Yeah, but does he want to? There's no way. Was he going to stab himself with a fork
Yeah.
in like Trinidad and Tobago?
Yeah, he doesn't care where he is. He just wants to bleed.
Okay.
So as long as there's like weapons and knives and stuff, he'll be
You're on a
fine.
beach. That's better. You're right.
Yeah. You know, like he can go on a nice tropical beach, get a drink inside of a pineapple, and if he gets bored, just take a fork and just start stabbing the pineapple.
Oh, that works. Yeah.
You know?
Maybe a shard of the pineapple comes off and he can stab himself with it.
Renee just walks in a hotel room and he's just like stabbing a pineapple.
Poor woman.
He's going, "You're not made for this." Stabbing the pineapple. She's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm just working out some stuff for my next match."
Oh, God.
So yeah, I just had to get to that one because it was the match of the night as far as just utter craziness until the main event, because it was obviously an hour and 7 minutes of two people trying to prove that they're the best in the world, which is pretty much what they did.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, insane. So what else happened on this card? Let's see. So we had the AEW Tag Team Championship. This one was kind of high up on the card. The Guns, the Acclaimed, Orange Cassidy and Danhausen against Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. I mean, not a lot to this one.
No.
Satnam Singh, Sanjay Dutt got involved. Satnam Singh has been made famous. because Billy Gunn delivered a famouser to the 7'4", 1 in a billion Satnam Singh, and then told him to suck it.
Well, he is the best pure athlete we've seen in generations.
The Guns hit the 310 to Yuma on Danhausen. I wish the Guns would get on the 310 to Yuma. Or the 310 to anywhere.
It's hard because I don't like them very much, but you know, they're fine, and they could maybe in the future had been like better or like more well liked, at least by me, if they didn't beat the Acclaimed. If the Acclaimed were still the tag team champions and they had a longer run, but I'm just like, you took my belts from my people.
They should not have those belts. They should not have won the belts. I don't think anybody liked it. And I think it goes beyond just a tag team that either has heat or you find uninteresting winning the title. I think they just literally, they're an outlier as far as the people who have held those titles already, as obviously being the worst tag team. And it's like, great. I'm sure that they are showing a lot of progress and a lot of improvement. They should be either on AEW Dark or in Ring of Honor. You know what I mean? They shouldn't be in these positions.
When Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus were tag champions, I felt like I liked them both, and I like their team. I like all their matches; they're pretty good. But even eventually on them, they held the titles for a long time. I felt like, and I'm like, damn, they didn't lose that match either. Then they were going to win another match, and they just kept on winning. So for the Acclaim to lose so fast, it just, sorry, Guns, it really makes you look like I hate you.
It was a weird thing to do with the 4-way as well, when you're not going to have them drop the titles back to maybe the Acclaimed. I was actually pretty nervous that Jarrett and Lethal were going to win this match. After the match, the Guns are on the mic, and then FTR comes out. FTR returning to AEW. They came out, they brawled for a second with the Guns, and Dax somehow got busted open in the process in like a 5-second brawl. Everybody's bleeding on this show. And it was funny, just back to the main event, there was a spot where Bryan comes up bleeding in the match, and MJF, like, I don't remember what he did to him, but like Bryan goes down, he comes up. It's the first time he's really bleeding. And he's bleeding like not a little bit, but it was a little bit compared to the Moxley match, right? So he's bleeding, and it kind of does that thing where it just stopped. Like, it's not like dripping, it just kind of bled a little bit and kind of stopped.
Yeah.
And then MJF goes over and he's like trying to get more blood to come out, and he's trying to bust him open more. It's like, no, this is nothing compared to what was happening earlier. We need buckets of blood here. Yeah. Which MJF, like I said, did ultimately bleed quite a bit at the end there. But yes, Dax wanted to be a part of the crew, bled for this business, and then they picked up the tag titles. So yes, please.
Hopefully they'll win the belts, and then the Young Bucks will be back in the tag division, and we can get another one between them.
Young Bucks are another team with uncertain futures, right?
Yeah, true.
Triple H is on the prowl, which we'll talk a little bit about if we want to when we get to the Young Bucks match.
Sure.
So yeah, so FTR, they want the belts. Sounds like it's going to happen. We also had the TNT Championship, which is another confusing storyline in AEW right now. So Samoa Joe dropping the title to Wardlow after cutting Wardlow's hair, which we learned Wardlow's ponytail was like a tribute to his father, who had long hair, I guess. So Samoa Joe really offended him when he cut his ponytail. Mm-hmm. And then Wardlow, this was a good match for Wardlow. He looked great in this one. You know, they were in a spot there on the card. I believe this one was right after the Texas Death Match, so it was kind of...
Yeah.
I mean, I needed to get up and walk around my living room after the Texas Death Match. I need to just check my body, make sure I wasn't cut.
Yeah, right.
Just
from your forehead.
Just from constantly cringing.
Throw away all your forks for a couple days.
Yeah, I didn't go anywhere near a fork for the rest of the night. But yeah, so Wardlow defeated Samoa Joe, winning back the TNT Championship. He locked in Samoa Joe's own choke to put him to sleep. Good win for Wardlow. So
I don't ever want Samoa Joe to lose ever. I think he's the man, but I also like Wardlow, and he needs a little something.
Yeah, this was a good match for, like I said, the spot it was in. I don't, what are you going to have? You can't get the crowd going again. It's kind of like the cool off match. I don't know. Yep. But no, it was a good match between them. And so the interesting thing is we had, which I wanted to talk about this in the beginning of the show, but I kind of rushed right into everything. But so on the Wednesday Dynamite at the Cow Palace, I believe it was, there was so much going on in this Revolution card, and AEW was doing so many big shows this week that they needed to have some of this Revolution stuff on Dynamite. So we had the Face of the Revolution ladder match, which you still get the brass ring when you win the ladder match. So you're the Face of the Revolution, but you get the brass ring. So Powerhouse Hobbs won that ladder match. Another match Sammy Guevara did great in. People will hate him for it. Mm-hmm. People will still hate him regardless. But yeah, that was a decent ladder match. But then, here's what I thought was crazy about this match. I don't know if there was like one tall ladder and all the rest of the little slightly shorter ladders, but Powerhouse Hobbs had to get on the absolute top of the ladder to be able to unhook the brass ring in this ladder match. Crazy. And then he's standing up on that ladder on the very top rung with both of his feet. And then he like puts his arms up. You know?
Yeah.
Oh my God. How did he do it? How did this happen? It was crazy. I know the refs were there holding the ladder, and that's fine. It was just, can you imagine? You're in the middle of the ring. So there's like your sense of depth is so off because you're in this giant arena. So what are you going to do? You're going to look out. Where are you going to look to? Your eyes are, you're going to find a spot on the wall so you don't lose your balance or something. Like once you let go of that carabiner with holding the brass ring, it's like you're just like standing there. And Powerhouse Hobbs is such a big guy.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was insane. How did he get down? You know? Like how did they get this man down? Like even just leaning down to just grab the ladder and try to move your feet down to the next rung seems so dangerous when you're up that high. Crazy.
I wouldn't want to do it.
Just crazy. So yeah, so Powerhouse Hobbs is the Face of the Revolution, and he gets a shot at the TNT Championship, which was won by Wardlow at Revolution. Powerhouse Hobbs gets that shot this week on Dynamite. So quick turnaround there for the new champ Wardlow. I really hope. It just seems like Powerhouse Hobbs would then win the championship, does it not?
Yes, it does.
But then why would you do this to Wardlow again?
I know.
You know? This is the thing about Wardlow, okay? We'll go into a Wardlow thing here. Wardlow now has a chip on his shoulder, right? Because of the MJF thing from last year.
Yeah.
Where he beat MJF. They built the whole story. Beat him clean as a sheet. Then nothing happened with Wardlow, right? Because the MJF sucked all the oxygen up. MJF became the story. So then the very episode of Dynamite after Wardlow's biggest career win, MJF comes out and cuts basically the MJF bomb and the at the Forum in Los Angeles, and then disappears for several months. He ends the promo with "Tony, fire me, you effing Mark." Like that's all anybody's going to be talking about, right?
Yeah.
So now, and then Wardlow now, his trajectory has kind of seemingly changed because of that, right? Like Wardlow beats MJF, but then MJF is the only thing anybody's talking about, and now he's the champion, right?
Yep.
So this is what happened to Wardlow, right? Somebody else like took his spotlight. That's what happened to Wardlow. We've seen this happen so many times in wrestling. And there's been times where guys were just deserving of a spotlight, but the promoter said, we're not going with you. Like, we're going with Hulk Hogan. Sorry, Jake Roberts. Sorry, the crowd's cheering you, Jake Roberts, you know?
Yep.
And, you know, same thing going on now with Sami Zayn. They're just cooling him off. But, so this is what happened to Wardlow. MJF did steal his spotlight, right? It's about what you do after, I guess. Because so many people in the wrestling business have that complaint. They have that chip on their shoulder. I was next in line for this. This guy politicked, you know, to take my spot. Or I was supposed to be here, and then the plan changed. I mean, even Batista could say the plans changed on him when they put the belt on Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30. Not that anybody's going to be sympathetic to Dave Batista, you know, the Hollywood thespian, but It just means there's so many times where, depending on which perspective you look at, people have the chip on their shoulder of, it was supposed to be my time, right? That's Triple H. That's what got Triple H over as a singles guy coming out of DX. The song was literally called My Time. Remember his original singles, crappy entrance music?
Oh, yeah.
Because, it's his time, and then that's what he used to then have the chip on his shoulder, like I said, and get over. So that's kind of the spot Wardlow is in. It's like, yes, somebody took something from you. It definitely happened. But it's like, it's a cold world, man. I even feel bad for Wardlow. I agree with Wardlow, but it's just, it happens all the time. So it's just about, are you going to hang on that moment that should have been your moment or should have been your time? Or are you going to use it to say, and now I'm going to show people, or I'm not going to let it happen again, or whatever the sort of motivation leads you to. That's what I think, right? About Wardlow. So he's the champion now, and I fear he's going to lose that belt. By the time you listen to this, Wardlow may have already lost the TNT title to Powerhouse Hobbs, who it's also his time. So this is the issue, is they've been building up Powerhouse Hobbs in the same way. I love Powerhouse Hobbs. I think he deserves a push. I've been on the Powerhouse Hobbs train from the beginning, Yeah, so
absolutely.
We'll see what happens. If anything, I think the best case scenario is these two could have a really great feud that kind of gets them both over, kind of makes them both, elevates them both, Powerhouse Hobbs and Wardlow, to the point where maybe they could do a thing where it's like, who is the guy, so to speak, between them? And they just keep going after it and after it and after it, and then that becomes kind of a feud. This is what they should do, and this is what should be in the notebook here.
Yeah, get it out.
Book 8 weeks of Wardlow versus Powerhouse Hobbs. So we already talked about the death match. AEW Women's Championship triple threat match. Jamie Hayter retained the Women's Championship in a match against Saraya and Ruby Soho. I don't know. I thought this was one of AEW's better women's matches. I don't know. I don't know what it was. Definitely, I thought better than Saraya's last match. And yeah, a lot of good spots with Ruby and Jamie Hayter in this one. Yeah, overall, like I said, I thought this was one of AEW's better women's matches. Obviously, not counting, it wasn't better than the not the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. That was Vince McMahon. It wasn't better than the St. Patrick's Day Slam.
No.
And there was a couple other Britt Baker matches and Thunder Rosa matches that were really good as well. But no, this was a good match. And then, like I said, at the end, Jamie Hayter retains with a pinfall over Ruby. And then Ruby Soho joins the Outsiders. She first falsely joined Hayter and Baker in the ring. Then she lands a no future kick on the champ, and she hit a destination unknown on Britt Baker. And then Saraya, Toni Storm brought in the green spray paint. They're like the Wolf Pack, but they're like the green Wolf Pack.
Listen, all those women are very talented, and I like them individually. And I wouldn't mind if they're together, but I hate the spray paint. I don't care about the group they have. I don't understand.
You don't like the spray paint?
No, I don't.
They spray painted RJ City's jacket on the pre-show as well.
I mean, you got to draw a line somewhere. I think that's where I drew my line.
Is it because it's green? If it was red, would you think it's cool?
No, if it was like 1997, I would think it's cool.
Just shaking the can, Hogan just shaking the can.
Yeah, just shaking it up.
Spraying Scott Steiner or Goldberg or whoever. Yep. No, I think we need more from this story. I mean, I get Ruby Soho. She's chosen a side.
Yeah.
She's one of the outsiders now. So,
all right.
Again, it was a good match. I liked the
Absolutely.
match. It wasn't bad.
Yeah. The match was good, yes.
So this was another good match that was on AEW Revolution, was the Trios Championship match, which resulted in new champs. House of Black, new AEW Trios champs. So House of Black has a cool entrance. I think these guys they look like a team. And I know they were wearing like this gold kind of coordinated gear, but their gear is so cohesive. They're like pirate Viking witches.
Yeah.
Like, what are they? They're kind of pirates, but they're kind of like these like woodland witches that like look like they would live in a swamp or something.
Yeah, Malachi Black does give off woodland. You're right. He does.
You know, it's like I feel like I'm gonna walk. He should like live in a tree or something.
That's right.
You know, like in a nest. I don't know. But they have a lot of skulls. They have a lot of...
Very skull forward, yes.
Yeah. They had Julia Hart out there. And the Elite, the champs come out on commentary for this one. Don Callis. Don Callis was on commentary for this one, Excalibur. Hey, Excalibur. Why are you wearing a mask, Excalibur? Who's the mark with the mask on? I'm kind of nervous about this one. Kenny Omega, the god of professional wrestling, is in there. So yeah, Don Callis is back.
Love him.
This was a great trios match. I think I say that about like every Young Bucks, the Elite trios match. I'm sorry. But no, this was a great trios match. A lot of good moments in there with Kenny Omega and Malachi Black. Kenny Omega and Buddy Matthews.
Love it.
So the story of this match, though, was what would it take to bring down the giant Brody King? Which I think I could write 8 weeks of television about this as well. Like, we should try to have people just body slam Brody King on the USS Intrepid, see if they can do it.
I'm into it. I was into that then. I'll be into it now.
It's just he's big enough where they could pull it off, where it's like, can you body slam him? No. But this match was all about trying to take him down. What can you do to Brody King, right? And this guy is so big. Oh, my God. Did you see how big this guy is? Brody King?
Where is he on the Ace Romero scale?
I mean, he's up there. I would like to see those two face off, I think.
Actually, now that you mention it.
That would have to take place on the USS Intrepid for sure.
Definitely.
So, yeah, Brody King, and it's just funny watching him like gather speed when he's trying to run. He has to he starts off, he has to wind up to get his body to move, you know? And it's like, he doesn't do that thing where he tries to run too fast and then all of a sudden he crashes right into the ropes because he didn't time it right. He gets that wind up and he's off, and it's just, once he gets going, you feel like you just can't, he's like can't stop him. It's like a boulder rolling down a mountain. Just a gigantic person, and once he gathers momentum, just unstoppable.
You just gotta get out of the way, hopefully.
So there was a Meltzer driver attempt from the Young Bucks here on, I believe they were doing it to Malachi Black, and Buddy Matthews just destroys Nick Jackson, takes him clean out with a super kick. He's coming off the top rope. Crazy.
Absolutely. Loved it.
So, yes, we interrupted that Meltzer driver, so we didn't get the Meltzer driver. So, there you go. You're not going to get an extra star from Dave now.
Sorry, Dave, yeah.
He didn't do the move. Malachi Black hits the back heel kick, a.k.a. the Black Mass, on Matt Jackson. They pick him up for the Dante's Inferno. Malachi Black gets the pin on Matt Jackson. New champs. This was good. These guys are a good trio. The House of Black, as far as in the ring, you know.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And I like that.
Yep, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I also like that. Yeah, they're a good trio. They're cohesive, like you said. They look like a team. And I also like that the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega can kind of separate. I need Omega back in the singles division, and I want the Young Bucks back in the tag division.
Well, you might get that.
Yeah,
but it might not be in AEW.
Ooh.
No, this is one of those weird situations where nobody really knows what's going to happen, but the futures of the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, I don't think are written yet. You know,
man,
because
could you believe a couple of years ago that would be unheard of to say.
Well, WWE, they definitely want to sign these guys, right? WWE is looking to sign Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, FTR.
Yep.
Who else do they want? Somebody else, I thought. MJF, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess for Kenneth Omega, I guess his contract was extended because he was out for with his actual injury, with his like 7 injuries that he had.
Yeah.
And that puts some more time on his contract, I suppose. And, it's coming up eventually at some point, but you got to think WWE would probably offer all of these guys a lot of money.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, I was going to say the schedule is probably appealing, but I mean, that AEW schedule is probably much easier.
And it's weird because Kenny Omega is like in the head of their like video game division, so he's pretty invested there. But look at Cody. Cody was in the middle of shooting a reality show. He was like, he was in the middle of a lot of stuff when he was negotiating to go back to WWE, and they had to just go on without him. So it's not never say never as far as even if someone is entrenched in something and it's a pet project of theirs, they could still leave for a lot of money.
Oh yeah, I couldn't believe when Cody left.
And with the Bucks and Omega, there's the fact that they were a part of the brawl out situation that caused everybody to have to take sides seemingly.
Good. Yep.
Because the two sides don't seem to want to get along. I mean, maybe they do, but it doesn't seem like the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega want CM Punk back around. And if they're looking at the landscape and they're envisioning a possible future in AEW where CM Punk is back on the scene, that might be a deal breaker for certain people,
I didn't even think of that. That's a great point. Yep.
That might be what causes them to say, I'll go take the $5 or $6 million. There could be something when it's like $5 million over here, $6 million over there. Maybe it comes down to other things besides. Ultimately, someone could just tack on another $1 million. Someone could say, "Fine, 5 wasn't enough. How about 7?" You never know if that's what would motivate someone.
Yeah.
Or if it would be something like, well, we drew a line in the sand and said we didn't want to work with CM Punk. He's coming back, so we're out.
Yeah.
But because it's weird because this is when I say it is a war. But the war is still on. It is a wrestling war. So if you're Tony Khan and you can't really discipline certain people, because if they leave, if you fire someone, if they do something so egregious that you have to fire them, like if Tony Khan, let's say, took sides on the brawl out, or if their investigation turned up something definitive that required somebody to be terminated, right? Well, where is that person going to go? WWE. Even Punk, I feel like, would go back to WWE, or they would try to get him back. So now this is where it's a war. You have AEW knows whoever leaves here is going there with like the big money guys anyway, right? So do you want to sit there and say, well, I fired MJF because he threw water on a kid, and now he's doubling the ratings on Raw? Do you want to be in that position? Do you want to say MJF and CM Punk are doing a dog collar match on SmackDown because you fired both of them because the Elite didn't want, or something like that? Like you had to pick a side. So it seems like Tony Khan is in that untenable position where he's got all these stars and he's trying to keep all of them. And I don't really see that. Somebody's going somewhere. Seems like.
Yeah. You can't keep them all. Yeah.
Especially with Cody over there. It's kind of just that little... it's just that little thing where it's like Cody's there, they know him, unless there's also, acrimony there, which we don't know. There could be, probably not. They've all been cordial about it, but.
Yeah, I mean, kind of writes this up. Cody wins like the world title, or Cody's a champ at some point, and out comes Kenny Omega. That's a built-in feud right there.
And plus with Omega, maybe more than the Bucks, maybe they all have the same thing. Maybe they want to just go there because they've been everywhere else.
Yeah.
Because really, if you're AEW, you really can't do much more for these guys. They've been like, what would they want that they're not getting? Besides, I don't know, if Matt Jackson, wanted to become the AEW champion or something.
Maybe he does.
Yeah, I just mean like you could, if they wanted the tag team titles, like yes, you could probably, if that became the deal breaker, it's like, okay, fine, you can be the tag team champions, and the trios champions, and the Ring of Honor champions. You could do like whatever. If these guys were had a goal or a want, AEW could seemingly make that happen, except if their one request is, fire that guy over there.
Yeah.
Which would ironically be, which would be ironic if that's what the rumor about CM Punk was in the beginning, that he wanted Colt Cabana fired. And it's just like, it's like a snake eating itself, this thing, right? It's like, fire him because he wanted to fire my friend. But yeah, all that is to say, the Elite losing to the House of Black, there could be some tea leaves there. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be true.
So then also on this one, we had the final burial. Was this the final burial? Because I feel like these guys are going to keep burying each other. Christian Cage and Jack Perry. There were a lot of burials leading up to this.
Yes.
We learned about Christian's divorce. We learned about, we didn't learn anything, but Christian brought up Jungle Boy's father passing away, Luke Perry. So there was a lot of burials, and hopefully this was the final burial. Because, I don't know, this thing has run its course as well. I think Christian getting injured and them just pausing this feud just kind of dragged it out a little bit. This was a decent match, though. Jungle Boy buried Christian Cage in this one. And the concerto that Jungle Boy hit Christian Cage with was nasty.
Oh, my God.
He just hit him in the head with a chair. That's all he did.
That's all right.
I mean, it just looked like he smashed Christian's skull with a chair.
Christian's too old for that. Come on.
Yeah. And and they were also just swinging a shovel around with complete abandon in this match. So they smacked the shovel into the chair, and then I think it was Christian who swung this shovel. Like, there was no working or gimmicking this shovel swing. If Jungle Boy did not get out of the way of this shovel, he would have been destroyed.
Hey, that's just wrestling, brother. Whatever.
The circle of life would have happened in that jungle if he hit him with that shovel. But yeah, so this was basically a casket match or a coffin.
Yeah.
It was a casket, right? So what I thought was good about this one was like when they closed the casket like sunk down out of sight. Like the casket disappeared below dropped down a little bit out of sight. That was interesting.
I kind of liked it. It was a little different kind of look. I liked it.
So I wonder what Luchasaurus is going to become. Like, what's he going to do if they become friends again? He's like, yeah, I'm not doing we've been out of the jungle for so long now. I'm wearing jeans. I like being, normal. Luchasaurus is going to be like, what are you talking about?
Maybe that's how their feud will go.
Who's going to help me fish down by the river for dinner? Then the first match of the night, we had Jericho versus Ricky Starks. Crowd was hot for this one. This was a very good opening match. I think people were just excited for the match. It was a decent match. Ricky Starks wins definitively by pinfall. He hit a Rochambeau on Jericho after countering a Judas effect. He basically blocked the Judas effect, which now he's exposed it. Now the Judas effect, everybody's going to be blocking it.
Yep.
Just like in the UFC. Once somebody shows an effective counter to a move, it starts to replicate. So
yes, sir.
Jericho is now exposed. He needs to come up with yet another finisher. They did a nice spear into a code breaker counter by Jericho. Sammy Guevara came out and he got speared by Action Andretti, who was ready like Estelle Getty. He was just ready for him. The crowd, like I said, crowd was very into this match. Good match. Good win for Ricky Starks.
Absolutely.
So to me, this was like AEW, the new generation, right? Because obviously these guys have all been in AEW, but you had wins from guys like Jungle Boy finally getting the definitive win over the veteran, that used to be his mentor, then turned into his rival. Ricky Starks beating the veteran in Chris Jericho. The Elite dropping the titles to the House of Black. Hangman beating Moxley.
Yes.
Wardlow beating Samoa Joe. Jeff Jarrett not winning the tag team titles, thank goodness. And obviously MJF.
We're happy about that. We're not happy about the Guns winning. So
yeah, the Guns aren't part of this new generation, but
no.
All right. So that was AEW Revolution. There was also the post-show press conference, which these things are getting out of control. This debate about the post-show AEW press conference is like, are you media? Are you a shill? If you ask a question, are you a jerk? If you don't, are you a bitch? Like, what is going on? Like, it's like people really do not understand what this is. And it's like, some of these guys are in character. Sometimes they're not. You have to ask questions that are basically agreeable. I don't really know. That doesn't seem that difficult of a thing to comprehend, but just whatever question doesn't get asked, somebody online is going to be like, but you didn't ask about this.
Oh yeah, of course.
You didn't have the balls to ask Tony Khan. Yeah. And then it's like, WWE does the press conferences as well. And it's like Roman Reigns is in character. And it's just a weird thing when some of the time it's in character, some questions are out of character, and you have to it's not. If you go to that, you have to understand you're kind of part of the show, which is really the antithesis of what independent media should be. So, it's just, I get where people are coming from, but the discourse online is, it's something about these press conferences.
Yeah.
But we did get some stuff from Tony Khan. He was asked about Mercedes and Kenny Omega, and he just said he wasn't going to comment on negotiations with people who are signed, especially people who are signed to their partner, meaning New Japan. And and then with Kenny Omega, he basically said that he hopes Kenny Omega is in AEW for a very long time. So just more non-answers from Tony Khan. I don't really know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because sometimes with Tony Khan, when he doesn't answer your question, it's because you're asking him, what's going to happen in 10 minutes, Tony Khan? Is CM Punk going to come out here or not?
Yeah.
It's like, I can't answer that. But sometimes it's like, Tony Khan, it's been 10 months. Can we get an update, please? It's like, wish I could. So I definitely get where people are coming from with wanting more substantive answers from Tony Khan as well.
Sure. Yeah.
You could always just be like Triple H, though, go, hey, it's just different flavors of ice cream for everybody. Some people like chocolate, but no. Some people like vanilla. Hey, it's just ice cream. I want some ice cream.
Perfect.
Stephanie, give me some ice cream.
Like he eats ice cream.
No, I just mean Triple H gets asked, a tepid version of some of these questions, and he finds a way to skate around them too, without people noticing. He didn't ask him about the Florida snow. So let's talk about some WWE stuff now. Let's get into the SmackDown stuff from last week's SmackDown, which we're recording the show on Monday. John Cena is going to be on Raw tonight. We'll talk about John Cena's appearance on Raw and anything else good that happens on Raw in the next episode of Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. But we do want to get to the Cody Rhodes finally getting to face off with his WrestleMania opponent, Roman Reigns. So what'd you think of this promo? Cody finally facing off against Roman.
I love Roman. Roman's top tier, and I like Cody, but I'm getting nervous. Like, I was right behind Cody the whole time. I loved everything he was doing, but I'm starting to be like, man, do I not like Cody Rhodes? Like, when he wins the title, am I gonna be upset? Like, am I sick of Cody Rhodes already?
So this is what's going on with Cody, right? He's coming out, and he was in his own lane in AEW for a few reasons, being the EVP. Also when you're the EVP, you can kind of do your own creative. So whether you choose to put other people over or do your own little side quest, maybe you can't decide to make yourself the world champion, but you can kind of do your own thing and keep in your own lane if you need to. So that's basically what Cody did, right?
Yeah.
And he would try to do the feuds with kind of the Cody guys, like when he did the feud with Anthony Ogogo and stuff like that, and then he'll try to get into the TNT title picture, losing to people like Sammy Guevara and things like that. But like I said, mostly the Cody they called it the Codyverse, right? So bringing that, and that's what kind of was what Cody kind of packaged himself as when he went over to WWE. It was like, this is the Cody from AEW. This is the Cody with the American Nightmare tattoo, with the Homelander jacket, with the Kingdom song by Downstate. And it's like, well, the Cody in AEW was getting stale and was getting booed. And do you remember when I said on this show a very long time ago, I said, Cody's turning heel. It's just a matter of whether he knows it or not.
Oh, yes.
Because when Cody was in AEW and he was refusing to turn heel, even saying so much in the promos, like, they want me to turn heel and I won't do it. At that point, you locked it in.
Yeah,
right?
you're gone.
Because if you now say to the fans, I'm never going to turn heel, well, that's all they're going to want. So then you're either going completely against the grain, right? And against the tide, or you're basically setting it up so it's like, I won't do it. And then, oh, he does it. He turns heel. And then maybe they like that, you know? But either way, if you don't actually do it, then you're really just you're not doing what is the logical next thing to do if you don't ever turn heel. So that's what I mean when I said he's turning heel. It's just a matter of whether he knows it or not. Either he's going to do it willingly or they're just going to boo him, right? So we never really got to that point because he just left. He left AEW. He was stale when he left AEW, though. He was getting booed. His promos were getting, the formulaic nature was getting to the AEW crowd, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And a lot of stuff that Cody was doing and still does in WWE was getting to the crowd. But, he goes to WWE. It's kind of like a fresh coat of paint, even though it was the same, look. But, kind of revitalized the Cody character, got that buzz. It was a huge return. It was great. The match against Rollins was great. All the matches against Seth Rollins were great. But and then Cody got injured, so that kind of derailed the momentum, right? Now he's back, wins the Royal Rumble. But this is what we've been getting. He comes out, he gets through those first few rounds of the Dusty references out of the way, right? He's doing it for Dusty, but he's also sick of hearing about Dusty, so he's doing it for himself. But we can't forget about Dusty. But now it's about Cody. He's getting through these, it's about me now. I'm going to do this. But it's also about my legacy. So he's kind of, stuck in the mud there. And then he's coming out with the promos, which are interesting, his promos.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, right, it's time to get in there with Roman. So you have this white hot story in WWE, which is the bloodline against Sami Zayn. And you have Cody who's coming in. It just seems so forced, Cody is nowhere near as popular and as hot right now as Sami Zayn was 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, no way. Yeah.
Nobody will be. It was like an aberration. It was like a once in a lifetime, once in a decade, whatever level that Sammy got to, and that's why it was really such a travesty that they didn't really have Sammy win at Elimination Chamber, right? But all I'm saying is the first thing you're juxtaposing Cody against is the other babyface, the B choice, Sami Zayn, who's actually a better choice to go with if you had to just choose. If you're going for a promotion and you got two people up for the promotion, and these are the two guys, and you want the best choice, you're going to pick Sammy. But it's not really about that, right? It's about what was promised to Cody when he re-signed. So this story is in motion, and it's not really going to change, right? So then the next thing we get to juxtapose Cody against is now Roman Reigns, right?
Ugh.
It's not CM Punk and MJF, this gripping stuff, but it's top level, top tier for sure.
Yep.
And I think that was on display in the face-off with Cody and Roman, which is that Roman's just a step above, And I even was thinking during this promo, I was even thinking to myself, do we really have to take the belt off Roman?
I know.
It's eventually he's got to lose it, and it's been a while, yes, but it doesn't seem like he could keep going, He's still got it for sure.
I think the only reason that it's going off of him is because he probably just doesn't want to. I don't think they want to have their champion miss so much time. I feel like he wants to not be there every week, which is totally fine, and it actually is pretty cool. I think it works out well when he's not there because the bloodline's still there, so you don't really miss him. But I think that's what it is.
Well, I mean, obviously, it's like eventually you do have to, get the belt off of him and stuff like that, and eventually he would be stale. But it didn't seem stale to me in the face-off against Cody.
Yeah.
When Cody's over there saying like that he's not here to engage in reckless negotiations. Like, dude, what are you talking about? He's saying that Roman Reigns has superseded hyperbole. Again, what are you talking about? And I think Roman said something like, yeah, that was good. Sounds like you've been rehearsing that one in the mirror. And then, so Roman does this impression of Dusty, which was A+ Dusty Rhodes impression, right? And just to do it to Cody is perfect because Cody has said in the past that he hates Dusty Rhodes impressions. Right?
I love it. Yeah.
So for you to go in there, and everybody's done it. We've all done a Dusty Rhodes impression, but for Roman to go in there and do that, that was perfect.
Yes, it was. That's all you can say.
And then there's just this added layer that Roman was under the tutelage of Dusty Rhodes, like many were in the NXT era. Like I think Seth Rollins also would bring that up as well.
Yeah.
That when Cody was off in the Indies because he left WWE to go bet on himself, Dusty was training the next crop of talent in NXT, which included Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and all these people that are now there.
Yep.
And so they can, and Dusty has obviously passed away, and so now they can all talk about all their times with Dusty, right? So Roman's got all these examples of things Dusty Rhodes told him about wrestling, and Cody didn't really get that from Dusty, right?
Yeah.
Or I mean, he did, because there's definitely experiences that Cody has shared about Dusty, giving him advice, even I think encouraging him to leave WWE if he wanted to back in the day when they were both there. But just the idea that Roman was the one who got trained by this guy's father, right? So it's just perfect way to, I mean, Roman was almost too good in this promo if he's going to lose at WrestleMania, right?
I know.
Because it's almost like he kind of took Cody down a peg, really. Kind of schooled him.
He did. We'll see where it goes. I'm a little bit nervous, like I said.
And then at the end of the promo, he said basically, and this is like this sureness that Roman Reigns has is like just amazing. He just goes, don't worry. Anything that your father didn't teach you, I will.
He's got
Just perfect. And that's the juxtaposition that I'm talking about is you've got Cody coming out here and everything he does is like he's holding a book in his hand and he's doing Shakespeare on a stage and he wants you to know what he thinks about this and that. And then Roman's just like, don't worry. Anything your father didn't teach you, I will. It's like, oh my God. So it was definitely a great face-off, a great promo from Roman Reigns, typical promo from Cody. But I think the reason why I'm bringing all this stuff up is because I can't be the only one that's seeing this, right? The crowd has to be seeing this as well. And yes, WWE, they can cool Sami Zayn off. They can cryogenically freeze Sami Zayn if they want to, right? That doesn't change Cody, right?
Yep.
It's like just taking the other pieces off the table doesn't, for one, it's kind of a telling thing when you have to cool somebody off, right? It's like they might as well have had Sammy and Cody just have a match and just Cody beats him, like here, just like they did with Daniel Bryan when literally Roman Reigns, what year? I don't remember what year it was, but it was back when the people wanted Daniel Bryan in the main event of WrestleMania again. I think it was when he came back from his injury for WrestleMania 31, I believe, where he won last year, but then, he got injured.
Yep.
So he had to leave. So the whole Daniel Bryan, the Yes movement was cut short. So then now I think Roman won the Royal Rumble, but then it was like Fastlane and he still had to beat Daniel Bryan because Daniel Bryan was coming back and he hadn't been beaten yet. So it's like the people clearly wanted Daniel Bryan to just jump back into the spot he was already in.
Yep.
And Roman beats him at Fastlane. I'm pretty sure it was Fastlane. And Roman Reigns beats him and then goes on to WrestleMania. But it was like they made that match. And it's like maybe that's what they should have done with Cody is you've got another guy that people would prefer. Maybe you should have Cody beat him, i.e. like Sammy. Not that I want that to happen to Sammy, because I really think what's happening to Sami Zayn is a travesty. But it just seems like Cody is not firing at the level that everybody else is. And this seems like a similar problem that we've seen in the past, or a similar situation.
Yes, I agree. And I think it will be more, you'll see that more, I think, after. I think at WrestleMania, you know, Cody beats Roman Reigns, a huge title change. Roman's been the champ for like 700 plus days. So that's going to be huge. But then it'll be like the next night on Raw. It'll be the next couple weeks. That's when I think we'll see it. Yeah.
I mean, who knows what's going to happen to Cody after WrestleMania. Obviously, we can presume that Roman would be, you know, off TV for a little while. But what's next for Cody? Who do they got next lined up? We'll see. I mean, whoever it is, whether it's Rollins or somebody else, we'll see what a Cody title run in WWE looks like. Thank you for hitting that play button. Thank you for sticking with us. If you're watching the YouTube version, you haven't hit the like button yet. Hit the like button. Hit the notification bell. If you're listening to the podcast, you already know where you found this podcast, so subscribe to the podcast wherever you do that kind of thing. So we will be back next week. So that about does it for this episode of Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. What does this button do?
I'm not the biggest fan of sports entertainment, but that was pretty entertaining.
There's people in there! There's people in there!
You want to make big money, you got to do big boy shit, you know?
He may need attention.
You underestimate my power.
What's a baby face?
Won't open, won't open. Not this one, not this one. None of them open.
Somebody hit somebody!
Still selling fake doors. We have fake doors like you wouldn't believe. What are you worried about? Come get fake doors. Call us up and order some fake doors today. Don't even hesitate.
Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. Help me.